Since January of this year, several regional councillors have been outspoken, both in and outside of council chambers, with regards to their feeling that the region should not be dealing with international conflicts. They have implied that showing support for Palestine would be divisive. It reads as racist that the proposed changes to the sign lighting have been made now, following numerous ignored community requests for this to be enacted at region headquarters as a display of support for Palestinians here in Niagara. If not racism, why seek to change the policies at this moment, when requests, as we've heard multiple people say, were made previously to light the region sign for Ukraine and for Israel and honored in that respect? And for a councillor to share a blog post saying council is choosing to stay out of foreign affairs this time, because they have always thought that motions about international conflict have no place at council, and this issue is nuanced and complex, is all still saying that seeing potential
if a delegate
harm
would like to speak about me, she can use my name and then be called out of order for using my name.
Oh, I thought I didn't, and apologies if I've done something I'm not supposed to.
Please try not to be aiming it at members of council, please.
Absolutely.
Chair, can we ask that council go through you instead of looking to the delegate who is here on her own accord and addressing her, please?
A point of order is an order in this case. I will take that into account in the amount of time allocated to the person. Go ahead.
I brought this up just because it seemed like saying that we didn't see any potential harm in these kinds of motions until non-white people were involved. And this kind of double standard has been seen in contrast to other municipalities like Brampton and Mississauga, who did show support for Palestinians by passing a ceasefire motion in November of last year. So if it was relevant for these other cities to directly show support for Palestine, why not Niagara? And if it's too nuanced and complex an issue to be discussed in council chambers, per fears expressed by one councillor that if council debated this motion, there would be things said that would be deeply anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, or both, I just have to ask, how does this logic apply to the sign reading Niagara Everyone Welcome being lit in the colors of Palestine, especially when it was already lit for Israel? If councillors are so concerned about the potential for division and harm, what about the division caused by lighting the sign in the colors of one side of the conflict only, the side of the genocidal oppressor? The minutes from the June 12th meeting further the hypocrisy shown by the region staff in stating that the proposed amendments will have minimal impact on requesters. This shows a disregard and lack of concern for the feelings of nearly 500 residents of Palestinian descent who've now been repeatedly denied the opportunity to feel the same support for Palestine as was almost immediately demonstrated for Niagara residents with ties to Israel. In terms of harm, I spoke with a Palestinian friend who shared this. We just want the council to understand that every Palestinian in Niagara region is disappointed and ashamed because we feel like we're not being represented by our council whatsoever. It feels like we are being constantly ignored, and our demands for support are deemed unimportant. This is taking a heavy toll on our mental health, which is already affected by the events happening in Gaza. It doesn't feel fair that while we mourn the lives being lost, we also have to worry about our council not representing us. Having observed all this unfold, I'm left wondering, why is the same councillor who has a proxy, I'm not going to even get into that. If this is so off mandate and divisive, how is it not due to anti-Palestinian racism? So I referenced earlier the blog post of a councillor and would like to note that I also appreciated their later admission that many individuals, elected officials, and bureaucrats lack understanding of the history of Israel and Palestine. That was a person who learned from the things that people have said to them. And this is a perfect opportunity for our other elected officials to be listening to the people who do know the full scope of the situation, to Palestinians. It takes humility to acknowledge internalized racism and to recognize when you're wrong to be making decisions which continue the narrative that the voices of Palestinian people don't matter. This issue of sign lighting is one way to show that they do matter. And it's within the power of Regional Council to take a simple but significant step towards showing support for Palestinians. Regardless of whether Council decides to approve any of the proposed amendments, I agree that to do so without first lighting the sign in the colors of Palestine will be to leave a legacy that does not befit the region's objectives, to ensure that the region is inclusive, welcoming, and free of discrimination. At this moment, we're long past the stage where residents of Niagara can claim a level of ignorance to the disproportionate number of Palestinians killed. Yet at current, the record of action here in Niagara shows a disproportionate amount of support on the side of the occupier. I hope the region will take action to change that. And thank you. I hope I was within my time.